Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is Akram. This is the second video, and since in the first video I was talking about the most wanted camera features, so in this video I want to talk about my most wanted hi-fi features. So of course we'll start off with the general specification stuff. So a 20 to 20 kilohertz frequency response, preferably a flat frequency response. Then the second one would be having the most dynamic range, and the third one is of course low distortion. So first we start off with vinyl records or records in general. So for like specific features, there would be. So first off now we start to getting to more specific areas. First off with the analog audio space. So the first feature that I want is quartz lock, so that we have a very low wow and flutter. So with that, first we need to talk about wow and flutter. And what wow and flutter is variations within the speed of the turntable or the cassette player, which result in the audio being slightly higher or lower in pitch. So of course we have to minimize that, and that's what a quartz lock can do, since it uses a quartz clock in order to regulate the speed. Another thing that we could also do is wow and flutter compensation. So we record the speed of the motor during the playback, and then we digitally alter the pitch of the signal in order to remove the wow and flutter. And then the next feature is noise reduction. Noise reduction is of course a way to increase the dynamic range of recording in order to reduce the noise level. There were a few systems that were made back in the 60s to the late 90s, and then they all just vanished, and so that we don't have them anymore. We would like to see them, and more importantly, I would like them to be a lot more accessible and easy to use, so that they don't just require a specific hardware. They can actually be encoded in software if you wanted to. Next, we want automation. So this is of course like auto stop, auto reverse, that kind of like, so that, like for instance, if you put a tape in, it will go through the entire tape, and then when it reaches the end, it reverses and continues playing back the other side of the tape. And then with a turntable, if it reaches to the runout groove, it will stop and place the stylus back onto its resting position. These type of features aren't really necessary, but with how similar modern turntables and cassette players are these days, having just a little bit of automation is like a really good selling point. And the next feature is manual controls, like for instance a manual speed adjustment or a manual tape azimuth and bias adjustment as well, and have them accessible so that we can change them whenever we need to. This next feature is specifically to turntables or record players, which is linear tracking or radio tracking compensation. So this is because vinyl records, or actually any records in general, no matter how old they are, were recorded with linear track, which means the recording arm moves in a linear fashion from the outer rim of the record to the inner rim. So the best way to play back said record is to play it back with linear tracking. And if you use angular tracking like a normal turntable, where the cartridge follows the groove and it moves angularly like this instead of linearly, there will be a slight shift in the speed throughout the record playback. It's not typically noticeable, since of course record arms are already made to compensate by having the cartridge be angled, but of course it's a very nice thing to have, you know. Alright, that wraps it up for the analog portion of the video. Now we're going for the digital side. And for digital, of course, so the first feature that I want to have standard is to have a SINAD, which is the total harmonic distortion plus noise of at least 100 dB or more, and a dynamic range rating of 100 dB or more is the same. So this is so that you will have at least 16 bits, which is CD audio, without dithering, of clean distortion-free range. Now this one is specifically for digital, which is jitter performance, which should be at least 130 dBFS. In a J test, which is sending a 12 kilohertz tone. Okay, now we're talking on more general audio stuff, by meaning not specifically format based or just the playback, by meaning amps and speakers and headphones. So with amps, of course, you need to have lots of dynamic range and of course high SINAD number. It would need at least 100 dB. Okay, of course we need a flat frequency response. Though this is where I have to specify specifically a flat frequency response. And for headphones, by meaning a flat frequency response, I mean according to the Harman-Kardon equalization curve. Alright, this is all that I can scrounge up for this video at this point. So that's about it. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.